have so many questions asking, is it hard to befriend the Chinese? Honestly, I didn't choose China. My mom chose it for me. One of the things I regret is actually not taking my program in Chinese. It was really hard for me to reach out to someone. So I actually met my current Chinese best friend through a group project. I don't know if anyone has ever called me a monkey. The chances of getting a good job with zero Chinese is pretty slim. The competition is super tough. A foreigner work point system. In fact, I was getting judged for speaking Chinese. Questions about my first internship. Okay, hello beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel, and today I am wearing fake glasses. Woo! So since we have a lot to yap about today, I actually ordered milk tea. I'm gonna unbox it together with you guys. So this was only 15 yuan, which is about I don't know how many dollars, but it's 1.5. So it's essentially oh wow. Ta-da! Milk tea. I got black tea for the base. Actually, it's like ice cream on top, but as you can see, it already melted. But yeah, there's boba and that's it. I did not add sugar because I knew that the ice cream was gonna melt and it's gonna be like sweet. And so this is a brand called internship, which is like the most famous nationwide budget brand for milk tea, and the rough translation is a little tea, like 1.5. Oh, that's so satisfying. Taste test. 1, 2, 3. Oh shit, that's good. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Met, and I'm basically an international student in China who has been studying here for the past 3 years. And within these 3 years, I feel like I have gone on a multitude of side quests, from internships every summer, and then clubs, competitions, extracurriculars, and a lot of traveling around China. And I'm gonna graduate next month, but I'm immediately going back to school because I'm going to Tsinghua University in Beijing for my master's program. And that would be another 2 years of post-grad school. Here in this video, I know that a lot of you guys are in a very Chinese time of your lives, and we all want a China max, you know, like me too. But I have been seeing a lot of content online, you know, glorifying and romanticizing life in China, university, work, etc. And like I'm guilty of it too, because like I've made those like romanticizing thirst traps about life in China, but it's not always that good, right? Like it doesn't matter where you are. Life isn't always sunshine and rainbows. And a quick disclaimer before we jump in, every single thing that I mention and share in this video is purely based off of my personal experiences and observations, so please take everything with just a grain of salt. You know, this is a first person point of view type of like content, so just take what you will, and I hope that anything of my experience could be helpful for you guys. So let me tell y'all my backstory lore, why I chose China. Honestly, I didn't choose China, my mom chose it for me. To give you a bit of a context, I'm Chinese Indonesian. That means ethnically I'm Chinese, but my ancestors, I was born and raised in Jakarta my entire life, and my mom, she wholly believed with her whole soul that learning Mandarin and Chinese would be so helpful for my future career. It was true though, because like these past 5-ish years, like there has been a surge in demand for Mandarin speakers. I wanted to reconnect with my culture as well, because growing up in Jakarta, I didn't have the opportunity to really like bond with my culture and like learn about my heritage. Starting with academics, honestly, after 3 years of studying in an English taught program, one of the things I regret is actually not taking my program in Chinese. And I can only say that after I made it out alive, right? But if I'm actually studying my program in Chinese, I would have like low-key died because Chinese is so hard. You know, looking back after my first, my second, and my current internship, I believe that if I had learned the materials in Chinese, my vocabulary, the terminologies used in my industry would have been so like second nature to me that I don't have to essentially, you know, waste the time and effort to relearn everything again. But then again, whether you take English taught or Chinese taught, everything has their own sets of pros and cons, right? Like if your end goal is to generally get a full-time job in China, then obviously I would recommend taking the Chinese taught programs. It would just like be so much easier for you after you graduate. A lot of people who could not speak Chinese at all, they would take 1 year of language school specifically just to like train themselves in Chinese to take that program, to take like a certain threshold of HSK4 or HSK5 depending on the school's requirements. So yeah, they would spend 1 year doing that, and then finish their 4-degree program. And I really wanted to join like hackathons, entrepreneurship competitions, but at that time I didn't find any suitable teammates because generally all these competitions are team-based, right? And they're usually like a group of 5, group of 6, and I just generally could not rally up the people. And honestly, the hardest part about adapting is actually the friendships, which is our next topic. I have so many questions asking, is it hard to befriend the Chinese? Like, are they racist to us? Like, how are they like, blah blah blah. And girl, I struggled a lot to get close with a Chinese classmate within my first year. And I think back then I was super introverted, right? Like, I only became super extroverted within these 2 years. But when I first started, it was really hard for me to reach out to someone, start conversations, and build a friendship. And to add on to that, the Chinese, they are very reserved in general. We as human beings, we're not really that keen to explore what is outside of our comfort zone. We tend to stick with what is familiar. So I don't entirely blame them at all for like being kind of like one-sided, or there's not much like action from them, unless you find a super extroverted, outgoing Chinese friend, which is my case. So I actually met my current Chinese best friend through a group project, and initially I didn't expect to like be good friends with her, but somehow we just clicked because she's the one who kept like reaching out. She was proactive, like she genuinely wanted to get to know me. And then again, like everything might just be like a stereotype that, oh, Chinese people are shy, they're reserved, blah blah blah, but it cannot be applied to every single person in the population. And I spent the entirety of that like academic year with her. We went to classes together, we ate together, we hung out of school, we went traveling to new places in the city, made a lot of new memories, and honestly, she was like one of the best things that ever happened to me within my college years. And she's the one who introduced me to like the real Chinese culture. It's a two-way street for friendship. It really does not matter the race, the ethnicity, etc. You know, if you guys vibe, you vibe, but then you also have to invest in effort and time to maintain and deepen that bond, which not a lot of people are willing to these days in both the dating market and the job market. Okay, about racism, I had a funny story where I'm from Indonesia, right? And Indonesia is part of Southeast Asia. And basically on campus, a lot of the Indonesian students, mostly men, they make a lot of noise. Like they're always cursing out loud. It's just not the best behavior to be showing in public, and they do disturb the other Chinese classmates who are trying to study on campus or who are just vibing. And so some Chinese, they started to take this issue onto the online forums in WeChat moments or like the university forums, calling us Southeast Asian monkeys. And like, I was like, whoa. I don't know if anyone has ever called me a monkey or like called my species a monkey, but I understand where their rage is coming from. You know, they're complaining in the forum like, oh my god, you Southeast Asian monkeys are like so loud. I completely understand about them being upset, but I don't know if calling someone a Southeast Asian monkey is the best course of action. In terms of like going outside in public, you know, getting treated by other Chinese locals, they are very curious to know about you, your country, your culture, and they're always very welcoming. Like that is the general reception that I get being a foreigner here. And because my Chinese is maybe not that accurate in terms of the tones, they completely understand. Like they kind of let us off the hook more easily because our Chinese is not that good. And once I had this black friend, and she was just like hanging around in the city, and she told me that, hey, this like Didi driver was actually super kind to her. Like he was genuinely asking her about where she's from, what her country is like, what do people eat there, etc. So it's a very curious attitude. Okay, I wanted to start this section off by introducing the most basic pro and con of being an international student in China's job market. The biggest pro is our national background, right? For example, I am from Indonesia. All companies that do businesses or cross-border services with Indo or have an office in Indo, they would be looking for people like me, who have had experience learning Chinese, learning in China, and are familiar with both cultures because I can act as the bridge. Now, this could give me leverage to, get a higher salary or just like a more stable job offer. And this is a similar scenario for other countries as well, Europe, other parts of Asia, etc. Basically anywhere, because China does business with basically almost everyone out there. Don't quote me on that, but that's just from my experience. But the biggest con as an international student is the language barrier. Now, I'm not gonna lie and tell you, hey, if you can't speak Chinese, you're gonna get a good job here. No, because I am speaking from the lens of a fresh grad. Now, unless you are an expert in your field, you have had years of work experience, or you are a professional hire, okay, you can get jobs in China without even speaking one word of Chinese because your workflow and everything will still be in English. However, for people like us who are basically students who are just graduating, just entering the job market here in China, I'm not gonna lie, the chances of getting a good job with zero Chinese is pretty slim. Not to mention my generation is now cooking within one of the worst job markets in history. Like even the China unemployment rate within right now, is it like 15.9%? It was like down from 16% from January this year, but like still, that's the Chinese local job market, and the competition is super tough. So we as foreigners, if we don't even bring something extra to the table, why would they pick us over their local? Now, I want y'all to listen up to this section because it's super important if you want to work in China as a foreigner. You have to understand that there are rules and regulations when it comes to the work visa, right? So in China, everyone knows there's a foreigner work point system where you essentially collect points like Pokemon cards, and once you hit a certain level of points, then you can qualify for a work visa. Now, the three main categories in the system is type A, B, and C. Now, type C is for students like me, like we're short-term workers, right? Like all my internships, they're like 3 to 6 months long. It's like a short commitment type of job, so you would fall under this category of type C. Type B is the most like general type of hire, wherein you have a bachelor's degree, you have had a few years of work experience. Now this is where the 2-year rule comes into the equation. As a fresh grad, you must have had 2 years of work experience in order to directly work in China full-time. Crazy, right? I mean, I just graduated. Where am I gonna get 2 years of work experience? So usually people would work in their home countries first for 2 years, then only come back to China to apply for the type B work permit. But another route, which is my personal one, is actually going for a master's degree in mainland China, because that would rack you up a lot of points in the point system and also can like exempt you from that 2-year rule, because essentially your master's program, especially from a good university in China, it's like a cheat code, right? However, if you work for companies in the free trade zone, like there is a very famous free trade zone in Shanghai and Shenzhen, these companies don't necessarily like follow the same workflows as like other MNCs, etc. So if you really want to work immediately after grad, you could try applying in these free trade zones. And you could also go for entrepreneurship visas, set up your own business and get an entrepreneurship visa instead if you, let's say, don't want to be a corporate baddie. Now, the last category is type A, which is essentially the experts. These are industry professionals who have been in their field for decades, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. They are C-level executives. They are, they're basically baddies. HSK, from my experience, is not that big of a deal when you're job hunting. Like most HR managers actually don't even know what HSK is. All they care about is whether you can speak Chinese with them in the interview. However, HSK, depending on the level, can get you points for this work permit point system. So if there's any key takeaways from this work point system is, number 1, you master your language. Number 2, it's either you follow the 2-year rule, get a master's degree, or go for the free trade zone. And number 3, always accumulate internships early. Okay, so I got a lot of questions about my first internship. which was 2 years ago. The biggest difficulty that I had was obviously the language, right? I didn't understand anything. You know, I couldn't even explain what the company does in Chinese because we were in the medical equipment industry. I didn't even know what medical equipment was in China. And how I got it was from the campus job fair. So each like semester, the school would hold job fairs. And honestly, back then it was like much easier to get internships. I don't know why these past few years it's kind of hard. Like no one really wants to hire anymore. No one really wants to hire people. No one really wants to hire anymore. They're just ghosting Gen Z and like giving them false hope. Trust me, honey, it's not a you problem, it's the job market problem. And actually, I don't talk about this enough, but the biggest difficulty other than language is actually loneliness. Like I felt so lonely in every internship that I did because I felt like, number one, I was falling behind compared to my peers because they obviously have had more work experience than me. They're literally Chinese. They're good at Chinese, right? Like they don't have that like barrier and they don't go through the exact same struggles as I did. So I felt very alone in going through things. It was just very lonely, and especially if, let's say, your colleagues and managers are not the most friendly with you, you definitely feel that loneliness on a deeper level. And my only solution for that is to just get through it. And I told myself that, hey, my happiness does not have to come from the daily work that I do. I'm here to learn. Like that was the main objective. And if my goal was to experience, then every single day is a win because I'm always experiencing something, whether that be good or bad. Though my second internship in Shanghai, it was in investment research on the client side, and that was the best, like least lonely work experience I've ever had because the colleagues that I had, they were all similar in age range with me, and we all had like a similar sense of humor. So we would always eat lunch together, talk about life things together, and I felt like they were like older brothers and sisters that adopted me. So I really hope that these types of colleagues find you guys. But anyways, I received a few questions about how I learned Chinese to prepare myself for the workplace. Honestly, I didn't really do much. I lived through it, really. Like I didn't study much on paper, but when it's like exposure therapy, right? Like imagine this, we're in a big swimming pool, you have the shallow end, you know, and then the normal pathway is like you learn how to swim through the basics first on the shallow end, and then you gradually swim in the deep end. But for my first internship, she just dropped me into the deep end, my manager. And honestly, I signed up for it. You know, I have no rights to complain. I was grateful to have this job. But it's like pure exposure therapy where it's a do or die situation. And so for the first month of my very first internship, I dedicated every single day to just like memorize all the vocabulary and terminologies used within our daily workflow, our company profile, our clients, etc. But if we're talking about like actual pen and paper studying, I did study for HSK5. I took the exam as well 2 years ago. I should be taking HSK6, but then I haven't seen a need to, so maybe I'll do it later in the future. And how I managed to learn Chinese as an Indo. Right, so actually I have learned Chinese since I was young. My mom enrolled me into Chinese classes, just like every other Chindo out there. If you guys are from the Chindo community, you would know that your parents sent you to Chinese classes that you never asked for. And sometimes some schools also provide Chinese classes. But honestly, we were just like studying the textbook to pass the exam. So like it's like word in, word out. It's really so useless that I couldn't speak Chinese even if I studied it for 10 years. I know, crazy. So at that point, by high school, I took the IB program and I was the only person in my entire batch to take Chinese. So it's kind of like private tutoring one-on-one with the teacher, with the 老师. So, you know, I skyrocketed from there in terms of reading and writing. But my speaking skills were absolute zero because it was COVID at that time. No one spoke Chinese with me. And in fact, I was getting judged for speaking Chinese. Oh my god, can you believe that? People were judging me for speaking Chinese. Like, oh my god, she's such a tryhard, blah, blah, blah. Even speaking English was being looked down upon back then, you know, back then. But look at us now. And also my biggest advice for you guys is to befriend the Chinese locals once you're here. 因为我觉得你跟本地人多多沟通之后，你的中文口语会越来越自然. And also listen to a lot of Mandarin podcasts. That's what I did. One of my favorites is Dashu Mandarin podcast. It's like the blue, like, let me show you. Yeah, they discuss a lot of topics. It's really nice. Okay, finally, we're in the closing chapter of this video. How to balance uni, work, life balance, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I don't have a solid answer to that. Like, I'm sorry to disappoint, but I myself am still figuring things out. There is no one-stop formula for all these things because it's generally trial and error. And I know I'm giving you such a gray answer, like in the middle answer, because that's the reality though. Like, there's really no black or white answer in this case. But what I can say from the past 3 years that really pushed me to where I am today is genuinely keep trying. Like, you fail, you fall, you get rejected, you get ghosted. That is completely normal parts of life. What matters is your recovery rate. If you have a faster recovery rate, the way you pick yourself back up after life puts you down, that is momentum right there. So even on your bad days, can you get up and do the things you're supposed to do? Even if you're not feeling like it, right? So in order for you to find this balance between everything in your life is to keep trying. And I want you to know that not everything you see online is as perfect and amazing as they portray it out to be. For example, my life as well. If I decide to invest more of my time and efforts into my personal life, then obviously I cannot invest the exact same 100% into my career or my content because we only have limited time, energy, and resource. So in order to figure out how much of your time, energy, and effort to allocate into each life aspect, trial and error. You got this, jayo! I'm rooting for y'all. So yeah, that is all for today's video. Thank you so much if you guys have made it all the way to the end. And just know that I'm rooting for you. You got this. And let me know in the comments what I should talk about next. Please like this video and subscribe because that would mean a lot to me. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.